Hey everyone, welcome to the first devlog for dungeon dining, my passion project that combines a restaurant management with dungeon crawling. Quick disclaimer right off the bat, I'm completely new to this whole YouTube and streaming thing. I'm a developer, not a content creator, so please bear me as I figure out how to share my journey with you all. I might not be the most polished presenter, but I'm excited to give it a try. This game started live as an entry for the GitHub Game of Jam. While I couldn't finish it during the game due to some circumstances, the idea really stuck with me. For the first time with one of my game jams, I could see a bigger picture, a world of stories waiting to be told. I have always enjoyed making smaller games for game jams, but this time I wanted to challenge myself to make something more substantial. This is purely a hobby project. I'm making it because I love game development and I want to push myself creatively. There is something really freeing about developing a game just for the joy of it, without any pressure. To make the journey more fun, I keep my motivation high. I decided to share my progress through these devlogs, and also to an occasional stream. Who knows, if the game shapes up really well and people see potential in it, I might consider proper release down the line. But for now, I'm just excited to work on something I'm passionate about, and share the journey with you all. In upcoming videos I will show you how I'm mixing this cozy restaurant management game with dungeon crawling mechanics. And whether this ends up as just a fun learning experience or it goes into something bigger, I hope you will enjoy following along. So let's start at the beginning. It all started when I announced the theme for the game of Jam, Secrets. Often when I announce themes, I need some time before I come up with a good idea. This time however I came up with the good ideas right away. I'm really a fan of tower defense games myself. The second game was an investigation game where you are a detective and you need to find out people's secrets. As a job, this would be mostly an UI game, like Orwell. However, Orwell already exists, so for me it felt too much like a clone of that game. My third option was a restaurant game where your recipes have secret ingredients. The initial thought of the third game was fun, but I felt there was something missing. And what would the ingredients be? The first question was quickly answered by the second one. The secret ingredients would be monsters. And how do you get those monster ingredients? Well, by hunting them. So it wouldn't only be a restaurant game, but also a dungeon crawling game. So the idea for dungeon dining was born. While thinking of how to combine this together, I decided to make some quick mood boards to be able to work off. Not only to give myself an idea, but also to prevent feature creep and try to make a small but fun subset which would fit into the jam. The main things I would need were a restaurant, a dungeon, customers and monsters. And if I had time left at the end of the game jam, I also would want to make a small village and NPCs that you could talk to, just to flesh out the game a bit and make it more interesting. Now, I had a good idea, but I still needed a style. Since most of my game jams games were 2D games, I decided this one I would make 3D. Of course, there goes much more into making an idea for a game, and I made an outline for a story and cut it a bit down to stay realistic as scope for a game jam. The idea for Dungeon Dining boiled down to 6 points. Since you were a kid, you always wanted to start a restaurant. That was your dream. Finally, after years, you got a chance of a lifetime buying an old abandoned restaurant in a village. So you will need to move to the village to start your dream there. On the first night, that also functions as tutorial and the start of the story, when everybody leaves, there are no more customers. The last customer that walks in is a critic. Unfortunately, you're all out of ingredients to make even a single dish, but this critic can break or make your restaurant, so you start panicking. You go to your cellar to see if you have any ingredients left, and while searching around, you knock over a stack of boxes that hit the wall and breaks open. When the wall breaks open, you're immediately attacked by a monster plant. After defeating that plant, you notice that it looks very much like a normal vegetable plant, and you use that in your meals as an ingredient to make the critic happy. After that, for the game jam, it would be mostly just exploring the dungeons, finding new monsters, and serving people, making them happy, growing your restaurant. I thought that would have been enough for the game jam, and would be fun enough to play. Of course, there's much more story I had in my mind, but that would be too much for the game jam, and will also be too much for this devlog, and I will talk about those things when I have time to work on them for next. So this devlog is more an introduction to my project and to my ideas. In the start of the video, you have seen a more current state of the game. However, I wanted to leave you off with some footage of the state of the game during the game jam. First of all, I used my Go.4 starter that I use for all jams. It has scene loading capabilities and scene switching capabilities. There's a simple menu and some settings for sound and video. It also has a load and save mechanism. Some more developer specific things I won't name that I really like to use are in there as well. During the jam I did switch out the buttons because the placeholder buttons of my starter are really not that pretty. As you can see, I started with very basic designs for the character, the food, and the restaurant. I used either procedural textures or free textures. My main focus in start was to make people would randomly sit down and randomly order food from you. You would need to serve them the food that was prepared. You could serve any food to any customer, even if they didn't order it. They would not be happy about it. One of the challenges with this was that I wanted the character to carry the food with him on a plate, and I needed to synchronize that with the movement I had made in Blender. During the jam, I still opted for a static camera in the restaurant and in the kitchen. I thought it would help have a good overview of your restaurant and see who wants to order what. I'm still not sure if I will keep it like this. It might change in the future, but for now it's something I have as well in the current version. In the cell, however, you would turn to a third person view. This is also the view I want you to have when you're crawling the dungeons. As you can see, I was not really happy with the character model and I tried a few things. And the last thing I want to show of the old version of the game is the battle. I'd opted for making a different scene for the battle, as it would be easier for myself. It's more like how they did it in the old Final Fantasy games or in the old Pokemon games, where you have a different battle in a different scene than in the world that you're walking in. That is it for now. I have to admit, this took a lot of effort to make. I'm really not great at this. And also, I don't think the result is that good. However, I have to start somewhere, and hope in the future I can learn from this experience, from this first log, and get better in the next ones. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope you got a good idea of the kind of game I want to make. Bye bye.